In this video, we will talk about how to calculate the height of an object using trigonometry. So let's work through a couple examples. The first one says, Kevin is standing 100 feet away from a tower and he measures the angle of elevation from the ground to the top of the tower to be 40 degrees. How tall is the tower? So let's draw this situation. We've got some tower and it says Kevin is standing 100 feet away from the tower. So here's Kevin. He's 100 feet away from the tower. And it says he measures the angle of elevation from the ground to the top of the tower to be 40 degrees. So notice that the situation we have here is a right triangle. And we're trying to figure out what is the height of the tower. So let's call the height of the tower, let's call that h. So we're going to need to use trigonometry, or trig functions. So if you recall, we have this acronym, SOHCAHTOA, that tells us how to calculate the sine, cosine, and tangent of an angle. So the sine is calculated as the opposite side of the angle divided by the hypotenuse. The cosine is calculated as the adjacent side of the angle divided by the hypotenuse, and the tangent is calculated as the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. Well, if we look at our triangle right here, the hypotenuse is this side right here. And we don't know the hypotenuse. So it looks like we won't be able to use sine or cosine because both of those involve knowing the hypotenuse. So what we're going to have to use is the tangent. So what we can write is the tangent of 40 degrees is equal to, in SOHCAHTOA, this tells us that to calculate tangent, we need to calculate the opposite side. So the opposite side of this 40 degrees, that's our h, over the adjacent side of the triangle, which the adjacent side is this side right here, the 100. So what we get is the tangent of 40 degrees is equal to h over 100, and we just need to solve for h, the height. So the way that we can do that is we can multiply both sides by 100. And if we multiply this right-hand side by 100, this 100 in the denominator goes away and we're left with just h. So h will be equal to 100 times the tangent of 40 degrees. So if you punch that into a calculator, the tangent of 40 degrees is roughly 0.839. So the height is 100 times 0.839, which is 83.9. And our units that we're working with are feet. So the height of the tower is 83.9 feet. All right, let's try another one. Ted is standing 60 feet away from a tree. His line of sight is 6 feet from the ground. He measures the angle of elevation to the top of the tree to be 50 degrees. How tall is the tree? So let's draw this situation. We've got some tree, and we know Ted is standing 60 feet away from the tree. So here's 60 feet away. Here's Ted. And it says his angle of elevation to the top of the tree is 50 degrees. So this angle is 50 degrees. And it also says that his line of sight is 6 feet from the ground. So this distance is 6. And we want to know how tall is the tree. So to figure out the height of the tree, let's write height. Let's form a triangle right here, and we'll call this side of the triangle x. The height is going to be equal to x plus 6 because Ted is 6 feet, his line of sight is 6 feet off the ground. So what we really need to do is solve for x here, and then we'll just add 6 at the very end. So if we have this triangle, let's think about how we can use trigonometry to solve for it. So recall the acronym SOHCAHTOA. This tells us how we can calculate the sine, cosine, and tangent of angles. This side of our triangle is our hypotenuse. And notice that we do not know the hypotenuse. So that means we can't use sine and we can't use cosine because both of those involve knowing the hypotenuse. So we must be using the tangent again. So what we can write is the tangent of 50 degrees is equal to, and the way we calculate tangent, remember, is opposite over adjacent. So the opposite side of 50 degrees, that's what we're calling x. So we have x over the adjacent side, which is this side right here, which we know has a distance of 60. So we're just trying to solve for x. So how can we do that? Well, we can multiply both sides by 60. So we get 60 tangent of 50 degrees is equal to x. And if we punch that into a calculator, the tangent of 50 degrees is about 1.1917. So if we do 60 times 1.1917, we get about 71.5. So 71.5 is equal to x. But remember, we said the total height of the tree is going to be x plus 6. So the height is going to be 71.5 plus 6. Whoops. 71.5 plus 6, which is equal to about 77.5, and our units are feet. So the total height of the tree is 77.5 feet.